start with two of the questions that we didn't get a chance to cover earlier. I'll just quickly note them down. So if I find the right page, see that preparedness is probably another good thing for presentations. So okay, so the effect of standing on video calls. So obviously a few people have noticed that you're a stand-up desk and whatnot. So yeah, your thoughts on that compared to being sat like I am?
Great question. I think it's a lot easier to sit. It is. Does it help you be the best speaker you can be? No, because you're more restricted when you're sitting. You're stuck in one place. Furthermore, your breathing is restricted as well, and you can use less movement. There's restrictions all the time when you're sitting down. Now, you will have to find a way to either, have a standing desk, or something which I was doing before I got this desk, and some people still do, and I do this when I'm in hotel rooms as well, is I have a bunch of shoe boxes. And I pile them on top of each other like a Jenga tower, and I hope it doesn't fall down. And that can be a really good way to get the camera high enough. The key thing is that you want your camera to be almost eye level with you. If the camera is, let me just give you an example down here. This is not good because now I'm looking down on my audience from a psychological point of view. That's not great. You might also be able to see at my nose, which is not good too. So try to make sure that your camera, if you can, is at eye level with you. And if you can do that and stand, I would take the opportunity.
Brilliant. Thanks, Carl. And another question that we had earlier as well was, how do you react when you're challenged and don't have the answer? So those tricky questions that people can come up with.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of train of thoughts on this. If you don't have the answer, one thing you can do, and people are afraid to do it, but it's often not as bad as they think, is admit that you don't have the answer right now, but you will make an effort to find the answer later on, and thank the person for bringing that to your attention. The other thing you could do is, if you don't want to do that, is you could ask a question back to clarify, saying something like, could you give me an example, Nick? So then that requires you to explain your point further, and then I can give a better, clearer answer, and it gives me more time to think too. You can also pause as well. Your brain's working really fast, so you might be able to come up with the answer if you have a bit of time. There's a few different things that you can do, but if you truly don't know the answer and it's not going to come to you, I would admit it. And actually people respect that more in my experience.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, so we'll just move on to a couple questions that have come up in the chat. And of course, guys, if there's any questions that you've got, I'm conscious we're 5 minutes from the end time now, so we'll cover as many as we possibly can. But I'm sure, Carl, if there are any further that come through, I'll make sure to manage them and get them over to you for answering, if that's okay. So first, we'll just start with, is scripting helpful when you have a fixed time for the presentation, just so long as you don't just keep looking at the notes, of course?
Another good question there. Yes, if you've got a very short period of time. So if you've got a presentation which is a 60-second pitch, 3 minutes, probably 10 minutes maximum, yes, sometimes having a script can be good to keep you on track and make sure that you get all the key points across in that condensed period of time, but you're going to make sure that you don't sound scripted. If people think you're reading from a script or you sound robotic, they're not going to connect with it, so it takes a lot of practice. If your presentation is longer than 10 minutes, do not go near a script, because what will happen is you will be trying to recite every single word, and when you get one word wrong in that plan, it will lead to getting more words wrong and then more problems, and then you'll be put off, and then you'll feel more nervous and conscious, and it doesn't end up being a good place at the end, essentially. So if it's short, yes. If it's long, no.
Brilliant, thank you. So next question, when doing presentations online, what is best as a background?
I think it's better to have your own background as opposed to a virtual background. We've got a really good opportunity now to almost invite people into our homes, invite people into the space that we live, and we can find ways to make it more personal. I've seen a lot of people in their backgrounds have pictures of their dogs, for example, or pictures or boxing gloves hanging, and they can be really good conversation starters, and you can relate to them as long as they're not a big distraction in the background. You know, you can also use your background for some subtle advertising, if you know what I mean. So you can use this real estate. I just think it's important to invite people in your home, nonetheless, and don't have just a blank wall, because that doesn't say anything at all about who you are or your personality. Have something in the background which shows a little bit of you.